Hello and welcome to another episode, guys. Is the audio and video all right? If it is not, let me know in the chat because I have a little bit of a doubt. Let me just turn the AC off because that sound may be causing me to not hear myself. So, hello and welcome to the podcast. This is called Vimo Live, and you are either in the live chat here on the YouTube channel right now, youtube.com/Vimo Live, or you are hearing the audio version of this at a later point of time on an audio platform like Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Ghana.com, JioSavan, etc., etc., etc. If you are listening to the audio version, please share the podcast episode on your social media or with friends and acquaintances who you think might enjoy it. And also leave a review or a rating wherever, like different platforms have different features. Spotify has a rating system, Apple Podcasts has a review system. Please help out so that the podcast may reach more people. Hello to everyone in the live chat. I'm going to get to it. Whatever views you have about the show, please do share. I'll get to the comments in a bit. Uh, the topic of today's episode is actually a series called Obi-Wan Kenobi. It is a series on Hotstar or Disney Plus if you're not living in India. And it is a sequel to the Star Wars prequels. Essentially, a story set between the last prequel movie and the first actual Star Wars movie. It's very difficult to keep the Star Wars order in mind, but it is part four if you want to look at all the things as a movie. So there is the first movie, the second movie, the third movie, then this series, and then the original trilogy. So that is where this happens, and it follows the adventures of a character called Obi-Wan Kenobi. And I wanted to talk about Star Wars in general, but also focus on the tragedy of Obi-Wan Kenobi because the series actually made me very sad. And I should warn people that this episode is probably going to contain spoilers for Obi-Wan Kenobi if you have not seen it. And if you want to come back to this video after watching the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, please do so. That's perfectly all right. So I think that Obi-Wan Kenobi, when we were first introduced to the character, uh, he was an old man. And by today's standards, the choreography was very, दो दादाजी अपने तलवारें आराम से हिला रहे हैं and they die. The prequel movies are widely disliked by much of the fan base. I am not one of those people. I actually like the prequel movies. I like the new Star Wars, the newer Star Wars movies featuring Anakin Skywalker and Qui Gon. So I actually like them. And perhaps the reason behind that was that I got introduced to Star Wars when I was in college, and it was my first impression of Star Wars because all the movies were being shown on Star Movies, and I saw them there, and I was quite blown away by it. And a number of years have passed since that happened, and I have been changing my views about how I feel about different science fiction franchises because, as you guys know, I'm more of a Star Trek person, but I have a soft spot for Star Wars for sociological reasons. By the way, the Star Wars universe has an actual religion. And if you go to someone and ask them to prove that the Force exists, they can do so, which is a contrast from our world where people claim to have magical powers, but nobody can actually prove it. In the Star Wars universe, religion is a very real thing. It's a thing that exists. People practice it, people pursue it, people can show evidence of it. So that is a very mind blowing thing, in my opinion. In the Star Trek universe, there is a utopia created by technology. We have talked about this before, by the way, but I'll briefly go through it. In the Star Wars universe, technology has solved a lot of problems in human society. In the Star Trek universe, in the Star Wars universe, no such thing has happened. There is great technology. There are spaceships that can take you from one corner of the galaxy to another. There are gigantic structures that humankind, or whatever the equivalent of that is, can be made to humankind can be uh, said to have created, like ships using so much metal you will have to mine an entire planet for it, apparently. But at no point in Star Wars do they claim claim that technology can solve problems in human society, because problems essentially are systemic problems, they're sociological problems, and technology does not solve those problems. Okay, let me just take a look at the comments. First of all, hello to Leon Suk Gill. Thank you for becoming a member. Much appreciated. Also, Leon Suk has said, "You ready for the debate, pal? Because I'm pretty ready for the battle." What debate? Were we going to debate? Okay. So on my main channel, Leon Sok had left some comments, and I had said that if you want, you can come to my live stream and we can have a debate about it. Leon Sok, wait a bit. Let me share the link after some time, and then we can talk about it. Let me get over with the Star Wars thing because आज का topic Star Wars है. I'll share the link and we can talk. So in the Star Wars universe, the recognition is that social problems exist because of power differentials. There is a merchants guild, there is an empire, there is a republic, and the political differences between things are what create suffering for the people. And technology, no matter how grand it might be, is not solving those problems because humankind has never actually solved its social problems with technology, not in a very effective way anyway. The kind of problems we had when we were low tech are similar problems to what we have now that we are relatively high tech. So the idea that tech utopianism, the idea of tech utopianism, the idea that technology can solve social problems is not something I particularly subscribe to because it seems like the people who think that tech can solve social problems are people who don't actually suffer because of any social problems right now. There is a term called white futurism in science fiction, whereby people who are from people who are basically old white men imagine futures which are technologically superior and in which uh, hunger has been wiped out or war has been wiped out or poverty has been wiped out, etc., etc. What they don't realize is that the reason hunger exists right now is not only because of scarcity. It is also because of lack of intelligence as far as of resources is concerned, or socially discriminatory practices like religiosity or caste or race, etc. So when we imagine futures and we imagine that tech will solve all problems, we kind of forget to include the human factor in it. We kind of forget to include the fact that uh, human beings fight amongst each other, not only because there is a lack of resources, but also because they have ideas about superiority and inferiority. They have ideas about insider and outsider. They have ideas about these people are bad and should be dominated, those people are good and should be worshipped. So in Star Wars, there is a religion, and that religion is portrayed as a good thing. And that religion is actually a tangible measurable thing. There are people who can demonstrate proof of that religion. They can use it to move physical objects, and these are things that are verified in the Star Wars universe, unlike ours. And at no point do they say that technology is what solves problems. Now, I'm not a huge fan of religion, as you all know, but in Star Wars, religion is described as something that, at least in theory, the force that is the equivalent of religion in the Star Wars universe. In Star Wars, that is described as something that unites people, unites all life, and keeps people together, and is kind of responsible for all life existing in that galaxy. It is essentially kind of alive itself because people who are adept at using the force can sense other people's deaths or presence using it. Now, Obi-Wan Kenobi, the series, is what I wanted to talk about. And before I do that, let me go through some comments so that we can look at what direction people are coming from. Leon Sukar comment pad liya. Hello 99 percentile. Hello Sridhar. Hello Kaushal. Audio, video, all cool. Sagar says Obi-Wan was the blandest Star Wars thing. I had strong feelings about everything else they have put out, positive or negative. So doesn't that mean that it's a good thing that you kind of enjoyed it more than some of the things that you hated? Like I would say that Obi-Wan was not a perfect series because for the first 2 or 3 episodes I did not know where it was going. It was kind of bland, but then it picked up. It did have a point and it got there, and it did answer a lot of questions which had been hanging in the air for a long time, like since the first movies. My biggest question was uh, like I felt a little bad that when Luke Skywalker grows up, and he goes to Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan Kenobi tells him that Darth Vader killed his father. And it seemed to me that, you shouldn't lie to a boy like that. And then there are even fan theories about how Obi-Wan Kenobi kills the boy's father and blames the boy's father for the death of the boy's father. But in this series, I was quite happy to see that they got Darth Vader to say things like, "You did not kill Anakin Skywalker, I did." And that put my mind to rest a great deal. And there are many other smaller things which were also very satisfying about it. Again, I don't think it's a perfect series, but it is something that is a useful addition to the canon. um, Arun says Dune is a good example of tech not solving social problems. They live in a space opera that also, for some reason, is also a feudal society. Yeah, so this idea has been explored in many things. Apple TV has a series called Foundation, which is kind of based on Isaac Asimov's Foundation series, although they differ in a lot of ways. But at least canonically, it is supposed to be that book. And the point is, like, for example, we have nations on Earth right now. Nations have a lot of provinces. But in the future, it is entirely possible that if humanity spreads across the stars and if there are still nations, then those nations will not be patches of land on one planet. They will probably, if interstellar travel is relatively easy, then nations are probably going to be spread out on multiple planets. So there will be a nation in a solar system. There will be a nation in a few solar systems. Some nations will be big, some will be small. But if transportation across vast emptiness of space is relatively easy, then nations are going to be much larger. And of course, there will be factions which break off. There will be planets which uh, rebel and break away from a interplanetary nation. We already have something called the Expanse. It is on I forget where it is. I think it's on Prime Video. Expanse has the idea that in the future humanity spreads to the asteroid belts of solar system and to Mars. And at some point, Mars decides that Mars is providing Earth a lot of things, and Mars should be independent. So there is an independent Mars and an independent Mars and an independent Earth, and they are at odds with each other. So, social problems born out of distance and privilege, are not going to be solved by technology. People who think so don't understand social problems, probably out of a lack of exposure. Vikas says, I did not watch Star Wars, Star Trek single episode. Can you please give me a reason why I should watch these movies? Because they're not movies. Star Trek is a lot of TV series and some movies. Star Wars is a lot of movies and some novels. I have done a I've done a live stream slash podcast earlier about introducing people to Star Trek. This one is not really an introduction to Star Wars. We're talking about a series, but you should try them. If you like them, you should watch them. I'm not saying that anybody should watch anything, but if you want to, you can. I'm just trying to spread my enthusiasm about these things. Arun says, I was planning on reading Foundation. The crazy guy says, have you seen the Blade Runner series? Yes, I have. I've seen the old movie and the new movie. And the new movie I really loved. It had this slow burn to it, which had a lot to do with which added a lot of depth to the thing. Because Blade Runner essentially is about what is it that makes us a human being. Science fiction deals with good stuff. The meat of our intellectual life is what science fiction deals with. Yeah, I love Blade Runner. Arun says Expanse is on my list too. The crazy guy says new movie is so good. There was another comment here. Oh, this is just Leon Sook. Okay, Leon Sook is getting impatient, I think. So let me share the chat link so that Leon Sook can come and we can get this over with. Um, to come via audio. Video. Link shared, man. You can click the link and come on screen and we can talk. Leon Suk is asking, you play video games? Yes, I do. I mostly play card games. like roguelite deck builder card games, but I also play fighting games like Brawlhalla. And sometimes I just download demos and try things out. I don't really follow up on many games, but I do play video games. Arun says, are you planning on playing KOTOR on your gaming channel level? I don't even know what KOTOR is. Sounds nice. KOTOR. KOTOR? KOTOR? I don't know how to pronounce it. विकास सेज डॉक्टर्स जब गरीब लोगों से 30 लाख 40 लाख फीस चार्ज करते हैं तो उनके क्रिटिकल डिजीज को क्योर करने के लिए, एंड अगर नहीं देते हैं तो जान देनी पड़ती है. Well, that is why we are of the opinion that healthcare should be free for everyone, right? Healthcare should be free for everyone so that nobody dies because of a lack of money. Bharat says, have you watched The 100? No, I have not. I know what it is. I've seen the thumbnail, but I have never clicked on it. Vikas says, what is your opinion on doctors? I think doctors are people who are experts in medical science and treat people for diseases. Mohit says, the fact that I have watched every single movie and series discussed here, does it make me a nerd? Yes. And that is nothing to be ashamed of. You should be proud that you have watched everything we mentioned. Manmat says, I loved both Blade Runner movies, old and new. And for Star Wars, it defined so many new things. Not necessarily novelty stuff, but otherwise, back then, I loved even the lightsabers. Yeah. My first exposure to Star Wars was through a newspaper article. Back when I heard about Star Wars, I had no way to watch it because this was the age of Doordarshan. I lived in a place where there were no cinema halls. I lived in a place and there was no cable TV also. I read about Star Wars in a newspaper article. It was a review of the new movies, and it mentioned things like Jedi Knights and lightsabers and laser swords and the Empire and an evil Dark Lord and stuff. And I had the entire thing imagined in my head. There were a few pictures in the newspaper, but I didn't know what they looked like. So I imagined all of it. And in my head, it was way better than when I actually saw Star Wars. Because I was, I think, in the sixth standard or something. Arun says, Knights of the Old Republic, probably the best Star Wars content ever. It's a game, isn't it? Knights of the Old Republic. Oh, KOTOR. That was what you were talking about. Just say the whole thing, man. I'm very bad with abbreviations. Leon Sook, if you're listening, there is a link in the chat. You can click on it and you can come and. Is the link not showing for some reason? Hold on. Let me just pin it so that Leon Sook can see it. Click, click, click. And pin. Pin. That's it. I've pinned it. You should be able to see it. Ah, Leon Sook is here. Why was I wasting time? Right, comment. Hello, what's up? Leon Sook,
Hey, what's up?
what's up?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah. How are you doing?
Good, good.
Yeah.
What's up? Thank you for becoming a member, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm happy to be here because it helps to support.
Sorry, what?
Yeah. Why I'm what?
I'm not able to hear you, Leon Sook.
Why I'm
Your audio is breaking up a little bit. Maybe you can rejoin. Yeah. mm. Kaushal says, what is your opinion on The Last Jedi? The Last Jedi. I so my problems with it are similar to the problems I have with any new one of the newer Disney Star Wars movies. But we'll talk about that in a bit. Leon Suk is back. Hey, Leon.
Hey, you can hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you. Go on.
Okay. So I'm sorry. I was not being impatient. Sorry if I interrupted you between your conversation.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Go on.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
the last time we talked, I'll just remind people of what has happened. Leon
uh
Suk used to leave a few comments on my main channel, and do you believe in God, Leon Suk?
Well, I'll tell you everything. Like, what's my
Yeah, so I'm
views?
asking you, do you believe in God?
Well, sort of.
Okay. So That is what his position is, and he was saying, uh, I think the last comment I remember from you is that you were saying that Carl Sagan is of the opinion that Hinduism can
Yeah, I saw a video.
explain the cosmos.
Yeah, I saw in video. The thing is that I'm not like
I
a
saw it in the you told me that it was on page something, page 213, 214 of his book Cosmos, and I could not find it there. So do you want to tell me what the quote was?
uh it was talking about like giving the analogies, like how the Shiva's picture was like explains everything, like how I don't
No, no, it
remember that.
no. I've seen the old Cosmos series. He never says that it explains everything. He says that it is a depiction of a certain view of the cosmos.
Mhm. uh we'll come back to that later.
Okay.
The thing is like so I would like to tell like I'm not like want to say that I'm not a religious person myself. I really don't like the idea of religion, because I think religion like make us like fight with each other, like this is bullshit for me, like people fighting over our religion is best.
So
You have to
you're
do
not
that.
you're spiritual but not religious.
Yeah, I'm a spiritual, no, you can say I'm a person for truth. I just want to know the truth. I'm not like
Okay.
person with a blind faith.
So
Yeah. Uh-huh.
so what according to you is the truth?
Okay, so let's start. So, uh, for today's debate, I'm gonna talk about some things. First, I'll start with the God. Then I'll talk about afterlife.
Let's
Okay.
go one by one. Let's go one by
Yeah,
one. The
that's what I
topic.
said. Like how
See,
I'm gonna go.
the point is that the live stream's topic is Star Wars. I don't want to devote the entire thing to talking about God. We can do that some other day. I just
Yeah.
want to understand where you are coming from, because you said that you said something about you have said multiple things actually. So I'm confused a little bit. You said something about the
Okay.
universe
Okay.
being a simulation.
Just just let me calm down, because I have some like anxiety issues sometimes. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So first, I'll talk about God.
Chill out,
What
chill out.
leads me towards God? Okay.
Have a cup of tea while you're
So
talking. Totally chill
the
out.
first, yeah, yeah. I told you. I remember. You remember? I told you I have some social anxiety issues.
Okay.
Yeah.
आराम से कोई
So
जल्दी नहीं है.
yeah. So the first thing is, yeah. Uh-huh. So the first thing is, as I told you about like fine tuning thing, which leads me to believe in God. Okay. You see, the our planet is like rotate at a specific speed. Its distance from sun is at like the the right position, so that we don't burn out, we are not too like near to the sun or far away from the sun. And every value, every constant, that's the first thing that makes me believe that something has to like design it. And once the most
Why do you think so? Do you think the fact that something is orderly
yeah,
necessarily means that there must have been intelligence behind it?
yeah, once the Richard Dawkins is the most atheist person, right? Richard
Go
Dawkins.
on. Go on, go on. What are you saying? Finish your sentence.
Yeah. Yeah, and one of his talks, he had to mention that he said that the yeah, there is a design. He didn't say that God, but he said that there is a design behind it.
I don't know which talk you're
And
referring to.
that
I don't
make
think.
made me wonder like
So listen, listen. You have brought
I'll
up
send you
Carl
the link of
Sagan.
the talk later.
You
Yeah.
have brought up Carl Sagan before, and Carl Sagan did not say what you said. Now you're bringing up Richard Dawkins, and I don't know what to say about it because I don't know what you're talking about. So just make your argument. Don't say that this person has said this and that person has said this, because that doesn't really add anything to the
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah. And so yeah, so the fine tuning led me to the God.
So
And
my
then
question
there
to you
comes
is,
the
I asked you a question, which is that, do you think
uh,
order necessarily means that there must have been intelligence behind something?
yeah, because every masterpiece has a like a master behind it. Everything like the universe
Do
could
you
have been a
think
chaos.
so?
Right?
This would be the watchmaker argument, right? If you go to a forest and you find a watch, you come to the
Uh-huh.
conclusion that there must have been a watchmaker. Are you aware of this argument?
I don't think so.
So this is called the watchmaker argument. It is used by people who believe in God often. They say
Uh-huh.
that if there is something that has order,
Yeah.
then that order cannot emerge spontaneously. There must have been intelligence that created the order. That is basically what you're saying, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's what
Yep.
you're saying, right?
Yep. Yep.
Right. So my question is, suppose you go to a forest and you find a rabbit.
Mm-hmm.
The rabbit is orderly, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
It works. Do you
Mm-hmm.
automatically assume that somebody must have been around to make the rabbit with his bare hands?
Yep. Yep.
Have you seen a rabbit being made by bare hands?
Anything's possible, man. Okay. Okay.
No, no, no.
Well.
Listen, listen. We are diverging from the topic. Your point is that order implies intelligence. I am
Mm-hmm.
saying by that logic,
Mm-hmm.
everything is orderly in one way or another. Even shit is orderly.
Yeah.
Molecules are held together. Shit is home to, worms, etc.
Yeah.
Do you think shit was created through intelligence?
There's a video game called Life of a. Uh. Uh.
Answer the question, na.
Yeah.
Do you
That's
think
what I'm.
shit was? Do you think
That's what
shit
I'm.
was created through
That,
intelligence?
that's what I'm answering. Okay, my belief is that God is not like creating every single thing one by one, but I believe it's just like the simulation argument says that one creator just set the initials.
Leon,
Yeah.
you are diverging from the topic again. I'm asking you a
I'm
very
not.
simple question.
I'm
Yes,
not,
you are.
buddy.
I'm asking you a very simple question. Do you think that
Mm.
everything is a product of intelligence? Do
Yep.
you think there is do you think there is anything that happens by accident in the universe?
I don't believe that anything happened with accident because in my experiences, everything has a meaning behind it, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So.
So when terrible things happen to people, when a
Mhm,
child dies or a war happens, do you think
mhm.
somebody is intelligently organizing that?
Yes. Yes. Yep. I believe that.
So I
There's
think you
meaning
have
for
kind
everything.
of I think you have kind of tied yourself into a corner here because Carl Sagan doesn't agree with you and nor does Richard Dawkins, the two people you quoted. I don't want
Mhm,
to use their arguments against you.
mhm,
But my point is that if I look at something and I say that it is orderly, that says more about me than it says about the thing because the thing may be spontaneous, the thing may be accidental. A rock, for example, in the forest is
mhm,
orderly because the molecules are held together in a specific way, which
mhm.
allows it to remain solid.
Yep.
But I don't look around to find out a person who made the rock, right?
Uh-huh.
I look around to find out who made the watch. The
Mhm,
reason I do that is because I know that watches are made by people. We have a
mhm.
frame of reference for orderly objects.
Yeah.
We have no frame of reference for a lot of things. The universe, for example, we don't have a frame of reference for. And
Mhm,
shit is not created intelligently. Shit is a waste product from our body. But still, it serves a purpose for some other life form.
mhm.
If a worm is living inside shit and it looks at shit and says somebody must love me, somebody must create this shit for me to exist in, is the worm right?
Well, I would say that the God thing stuff that there is a God, uh, that can't be like objectively proved. So I had some
If it
objective
can't
thing.
be objectively proven, then why do you believe it?
Okay, let's keep God aside for a minute. Let's come to objective. Like you believe in objective truth, right? Objective evidence, right? So let's come to the afterlife. You say,
We have not finished the main topic yet. Do you agree that simply because something is orderly we cannot conclude that it was made through intelligence?
well, for me, I can say that it comes to subjective experience, subjective
How
perspective.
does
That
that come to how does that come to through subjective experience? You went to a forest and you found a watch and a rock. You can
mm-hmm.
conclude that a watch was made by someone. I agree with you because you have a frame of reference.
Yeah.
But do you think that you should conclude that the rock was also made by someone simply because it is orderly?
Well, the question comes, where does the rock comes from then?
We know where rocks come from. Rocks are geological objects that come together through dust coming together, or the earth itself has a lot of geological
Yeah.
phenomena that create rocks all the time.
Yeah, and what creates that phenomenon? Where does the main things that soil come from? That's the question.
The soil comes from materials that were created inside stars, the elements, etc.
Yeah, and then there comes again the question: where does the star comes from? Where does
The stars come from gas clouds coalescing on themselves because of gravity.
and what makes them collide? Like what makes these?
Gravity does. Gravity
Okay.
does.
And who created gravity? How created?
How do
Gravity
you
comes
think?
into existence, right?
Okay, I don't know who created gravity. I don't, or rather, the better answer would be I don't know where gravity came from. You are claiming that gravity was created by an intelligent agent. Are you?
I'm not claiming, I say I believe.
So why do you believe something that you cannot prove?
Because that's the most logical explanation, right?
What is the most logical explanation? That an intelligent agent created gravity?
Yeah, maybe some
Why?
programming, as they say.
Why? Why? Why is that the most logical answer?
Because what other explanation you can come up with? Because
So that is a
nothing.
logical, again, you said that this was logical, but now you have committed a logical fallacy. It is called uh,
Mhm,
argument from ignorance. Like,
mhm,
I don't know how something happened. Therefore, this answer that I have held on to must be true.
mhm.
The better answer is I don't know, right? You don't know. I don't know either. But you are claiming that something is true, and I'm not. I'm simply saying I don't know where it came from. Something, is that a truck or something?
Wait, there's a train. Sorry for
Ah,
that.
okay. No issues, no issues,
Sorry for that. It's a train.
no issues.
And yeah, I was saying. So well, if I look into the like around myself in the nature, you know, everything follows a specific pattern. The question comes like, what made them like? Is there any like? Are they conscious about this stuff? Like, is gravity conscious? Is like wind conscious? Like, what's creating
Do
this
you know
all?
the answer to any of those questions?
But I can't claim anything, but I believe if somebody asked me, I would say this. The answer I'm
Why
telling
do
you
you
right
be-
now.
why do you believe?
While it comes to like, um, it comes down to that. What I can say is, I come up with the word. That why do I believe that? Yeah, this order proves there's a God. Because if we look around, there's always a creator behind everything. Okay,
No, no, there
everything
isn't.
that
No, there
is.
isn't. There isn't. The shit was not created by anyone. Shit is something our body expels, and shit is still useful
Yeah,
to some creatures,
yeah. Just look,
right?
just yeah, from that I can just look at our body. Like everything, every organ is necessary, right?
No, no, not every organ is necessary. You can survive without hair. Necessary for what?
It's not
Necessary for survival? Not all organs are necessary for survival. There are people who don't have entire organs and they still survive. The appendix is completely unnecessary, apparently. And it is suggested by some people that evolution at one point had a use for it, but now it doesn't,
Mhm.
right? So, my question, going back to what we started with, is that there are some things to which we do not have answers. When that
Yep.
question is asked, someone like me will say, I don't know. Someone like you will say, I believe that an intelligent creator did it. My question is, why do you think so?
Okay, so it was my first point of fine tuning, and I would like to tell you other points too. That what makes me think.
But
That's not the only thing that makes me think why there is a God, why there is something
so
beyond.
that's what
That's
I'm
not the
asking.
only
That's
thing.
why
The
I'm
fine
asking.
tuning.
I'm asking if that is not the only
Yeah,
thing,
that's what
what is
I'm
the thing
going to
that
tell
makes you
you.
think?
Okay.
You said that you don't know, but you believe. I'm
Yeah.
saying, why do you believe what you don't know?
Okay. Can I move to my next point?
पर इसको तो पहले खत्म कर लो भैया. Can you finish
Hello.
this
Can
one
I move to
first?
the next point?
Can you finish this one first?
Mhm. I have
Are you
already
like
told you. Like for me,
maybe?
in this.
Huh, go on, go on.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that for me, this point is like comes down to my own perspective, what I believe. I can't say anybody that yes, it's fine tuned and you should believe God. That's all God. Maybe he
So
may think
you
that may
you
happen
don't.
with an accident, but that doesn't make any sense. Just
Why does it
because
not make any
why
sense?
that's like winning lottery every time. That's like winning lottery every time because lottery
No,
is
no.
all about
Lottery example doesn't work.
chances, right?
The lottery example does not work because we have a frame of reference for lotteries. We don't live in a universe where someone wins lotteries every time. If you had grown up in a world where it was quite common to see people winning lotteries 20 times in a row, you will not be surprised by it. The only reason it is surprising is because you have not experienced it and I have not experienced it. So our frame of reference
Mhm.
tells us that winning lotteries 20 times in a row is extremely rare. But for the universe, we don't have a
Mhm.
frame of reference. We don't have a frame of reference for how universes are created. Maybe an infinite number of universes are created and every one of them except one pops out of existence. Maybe this is one of those. We don't know,
Mhm.
right? That is the better answer.
Okay, good point. Okay, so can I get to the next point?
My question is still unanswered. If you don't know, why do you believe?
Well, I can say that I'm not prepared for this one argument. Yeah, let me say that. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm not prepared for
cool.
this one.
Cool.
So let me
Then
just
let
continue.
me. So move
Maybe
on to the
I'll
next
think about it
argument.
again. I'll think about this
Cool. Move
again.
on to the next argument, but this is
Yeah.
the last one because I have to
Okay.
move on to other comments then.
Okay. So maybe this is the last point. Then
Yeah.
maybe other argument. Maybe
Maybe you can
any another video. Right.
come back in the
Okay.
next episode, and we can
So
continue talking.
yeah, yeah. Okay.
Hmm.
So I'll think about fine tuning argument again. If let you know in the comment that
We have not
what
even gotten to the
conclusion
fine
I
tuning.
came to.
Right. So we have not even gotten to the fine tuning
Uh,
argument.
yeah, because I'm not prepared for that. So maybe I should come to the next point. Okay, so
Cool.
the
Cool.
you think that after a body dies, the we are like just blackout, right?
Yeah. No, I don't think so. I think that
After
all we
death.
have seen, all we have seen is a complete blackout after death. That is all we have
Hmm.
experienced. We don't know what else is there.
Okay, so there was a time when I had a crisis of like just like what we are. Is that the only life? Because I wanted to know. So I did some search and I came to know about an like experiment did by a doctor named Dr. Sampernian, and they did an like experiments on some cardiac arrest patients, and what they found out is after they are announced clinically dead, the patients were able to see things. Body died, mind is not working anymore, but they were able to see some stuff. Okay, so some would
If the mind
when
was
some
not
would say
working,
it's called
if the
dreaming.
mind if the
Okay,
mind was not working, how do they remember what they saw?
let me tell you, yeah, that's what I'm telling. That's something to look upon. Okay, the thing is that they were not able to just see some like a dreamy like angels or demons, but they were accurately can see what's happening in even in the next room. And when they came back to the body, they reported everything accurately. So then comes the question: do we really die after physical death? So that's the question.
What do you think happens?
Because if like a doctor is saying they had some objective
No, no, I'm
report.
not. Again, this is hearsay. You are quoting someone
Mhm,
else having said something, and I don't put
mhm.
much stock in it because there are plenty of such stories floating around. My point is, what do you think happens after death?
Well, I believe, yeah, consciousness does not cease to exist. It continue. There's a thing
Has
called.
anyone has anyone has anyone ever sent a message from
Mhm,
after death to say that they are still alive? After the
mhm,
body's death, has anyone ever come back?
mhm.
I'm asking.
Yes, that's what I'm
Who?
telling. There was
Who?
a on the large scale there did one experiment by Dr. Sampernian. You can check it on
So
YouTube, on Google.
you're talking about near death experiences, right?
Hmm.
I'm talking about
Yeah,
death
near death
itself.
experiences.
Near death is not death. If someone is this close to death, they almost die, but then they don't die. That's not death. I'm saying after death, after the body has been destroyed without the brain, has anyone ever come back?
After you destroy the body, how can you expect somebody to come into that body?
No. How can, like, then how do you know that the consciousness survives the death of the body?
That's what I'm telling. Objective evidence. You guys believe in objective evidence? There's not only Dr. Sampernian. There's a Pim van Lommel. He's a great
I know,
scientist.
no, don't quote people because those people are not here and I can't talk to them. I can only talk to you. I'm not here to talk about Carl Sagan, not here to talk about Richard Dawkins, not here to talk about any scientist. I'm simply asking why you believe this thing.
Then, as because there's a objective evidence there, because people
No,
believe in
that's not.
objective evidence.
Has this research been published any peer-reviewed science journal?
I haven't checked that, but it's on
Why
internet.
haven't you checked? Why haven't you checked that? इंटरनेट पे तो बहुत सारी चीज़ें यार. If I search for evidence of werewolves, I will find 50 websites.
Hmm.
That is why we don't put much stock in YouTube videos, right? We put stock in scientific papers written and peer reviewed by scientists,
Yeah,
where the
for,
experiments are
yeah,
verifiable through repetition.
yeah, for
So has that
peer-reviewed
been done?
journal, there's a journal by a physicist, a NASA physicist, Tom Campbell, on simulation theory.
And
There-
simulation theory कहाँ से आ गया? We're talking about afterlife, right?
Yeah, it's the part of the two that,
How is simulation theory a part of the afterlife?
because in simulation theory, they talk about like a new avatar. Like after this avatar has died, you move into higher dimension. If you want to experience,
Has there been any evidence of it?
you are asked for like a journal. I told you about the peer-reviewed journal. That's what I've told you.
Tell me the name of the journal again.
It's a internet in the international conference. You can just search on the Google Tom Campbell. You can search that. Tom Campbell.
Tom Campbell.
Yeah.
Uh, he's a philosopher and jurist, academic positions in Scotland and Australia. I don't think that's what you're talking about.
Now there's a many Tom Campbell. Campbell. You should search a physicist with that name, and you can see. So for anybody who want to like experience an out of body, they can try astral projection. Anybody can do that.
Have you done astral projection?
I'm trying. And
So
I remember.
you've not
I,
done astral projection.
Let me tell you my experience. What I remember is when I was trying to do astral projection, I came into the sleep paralysis stage, and I was able to see my street in front of me with my eyes closed. And I was trying to fly,
I can see a
and
lot of things with my eyes closed. It's called
no,
imagination. It's called
no,
imagination and
I was
memory.
seeing vividly. I was seeing vividly. Okay,
What? What?
you say it's imagination, but if I come back to their people's report, uh, they can't imagine what's happening in the real life in the real time, but they were able to see
Leon
the.
Suk, do you know about something called double blind testing?
No, I don't know.
Do you know what double blind testing is? It's a scientific process through which, if a thing is to be proved, it is tried on a bunch of people, then it is tried on a second group of people, and then it is tried on a third group of people. The
Hmm.
second group is the control group. The first group is allowed a certain set of circumstances, and the third group is denied that. If the results in all three cases say the same thing, then it is assumed that there is something there. The things that you are saying are so subjective that they cannot even be tested, and there is the problem there, because you
Listen,
have not heard of the scientific process, you have not heard of peer reviewed science journals, you have not heard of double blind testing. You are talking purely out of your ass.
listen,
Purely, there is nothing here.
listen. When people say they are imagining things, how they can imagine what's happening in the real life when their mind is dead accurately?
Memory memory
How's memory related to that? Look, let me just say, just my body died right now. How can I describe what's happening in the other house?
How do you, like, who has described it, what is happening in the other house? That's a
The
story.
patient, the
You have
patients.
heard a story from someone. That story has been embellished multiple times. There are people who claim all sorts of things. I'm saying what they have said, has it been verified through double
Yeah,
blind
that's
testing and
verified. He's a
written
doctor.
about in a scientific journal?
He's a doctor. He's verified. And
No, that is
there's a
not how things work. That's an argument from authority. A doctor said it, therefore it must be true. I'm saying what the doctor said, has it been verified by other people through peer review and testing?
but I don't know if it has been peer reviewed or not. I'll check it out for
That is what
sure.
you should look for. That is what you should look for. I think what the mistake you're making is that you are looking at things someone has said and you are putting too much stock in it. Somebody will come and say something and you will totally believe it without going into oh, maybe this guy is not right. Maybe I should look things up. Has this been written about by other people? Has this been debunked? Has he been exposed? Why don't you do that? I think you are too
Okay, you're
eager to
saying I'm
believe
talking
things.
about other,
Sorry?
I'm talking about other people. Let me tell you my experience then. You're saying that I'm talking about
No,
other
your
people.
experience also
Let me
does
tell you
not
my
matter because
experience.
your experience matters to you. I am saying, why should I believe it when it is not verifiable? I can tell you that I had an experience of a dragon. Will you believe me?
Maybe anything is possible.
Nope, it is not. Dragons are not possible. Dragons are patently impossible. They're too large, they can't fly, and no creature exists that can spew fire from his mouth the way a dragon does. Because if you fall into the trap of thinking that anything is possible, then you are so gullible that you will fall for all kinds of stupid schemes. कल को तुम्हारे घर को कोई आएगा and they will say that I can create rabbits out of my hands, and you'll say anything is possible. I'll believe this guy also. That's a surefire method of not living life normally.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
be more critical, be more skeptical about things.
Yeah, I am, buddy. Okay, let me tell you about, like, once I tried magic, and I got four
Leon,
twenty
Leon,
dollars
Leon, Leon, Leon.
out out of
Let's talk
nowhere.
about this. Let's talk about this some other time. आज इतना ही काफी है. So if you
Mm-hmm.
come back next episode or the episode after that, after having done some research on this stuff, then we can
Mm-hmm.
talk. Cool.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice talking to you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Yeah. Goodbye. Adios.
Right. So that was interesting. कहाँ गया कोटा और स्ट्रीट कैम Mohammad Saud says Leon here is someone read all of Carl Sagan with a C not a K. Carl Sagan's works including his screenplay The Contact. He was a staunch non-believer. Read him in totality. Yeah, Carl Sagan ka read Pale Blue uh, Pale Blue Dot, Contact, Cosmos, and a bunch of other books. Cosmos is his only work of fiction. It's not a very good novel, but the movie is amazing. You should watch it. सीनियर सेज हनुमान जी के लिए ग्रेविटी काम नहीं करता था इसलिए सूरज खाली एलियन सेज हु क्रिएटेड योर क्रिएटर yeah, that's a good question. However, that question seems to admit the possibility that there was a creator. Often when someone says that the creator created the universe, we should not simply allow who created the creator, because that question agrees with their first premise, which is that there is a creator. Maybe there is no creator. How do we know there was a creator? The question about the creation of the universe should not be who created the universe, because the who contains an implication. The question should be how did the universe come into being? Because that comprises a lot of possibilities, including random chance, several theistic options, several non-theistic options. So ये who वाले क्वेश्चन को हमको थोड़ा केयरफुल रहना चाहिए. Manmat says, Leon, we have some vestigial organs, the example of imperfect design and totally out of tune. Yeah, like the intelligent designer argument primarily suffers because there is almost no intelligence in our design. Why are balls outside? Why couldn't they be inside? Why is why is such a sensitive organs outside the human body where it is so vulnerable? Senior says, Gil Sahab, Sadhguru ke fan lag rahe hain. Yeah, I think he's falling for everything. Hopefully he comes back and we'll fix him. Kaushal says, Sam Parnia's experiments did not actually say that though. Again, that is why I don't try to bring in other people, because somebody will come and say that this person said this and it turns out that they didn't. And in case of Leon, he has already said that Carl Sagan said something when Carl Sagan didn't actually say that. He even tried to quote Richard Dawkins of all people. And the previous time there was this other guy Otangelo who was saying that Stephen Hawking has said that the universe is fine tuned the way he wants to. इन लोगों को कोट माइनिंग करने से कोई नहीं रोक सकता. Kaushal says from Wikipedia, out of body claims were tested by placing figures on suspended boards facing the ceiling, not visible from the floor. No positive results were reported. Yeah, see, this is what is called a double blind test. You test to see if something is replicable. If something is replicable, you then test it with several groups of people. That's all. That it shouldn't take that much effort. Most of the times, these people try to escape scrutiny by saying ki it's all subjective, and you can't get away from things like that. You can't get away from things by simply saying that this is my opinion, everyone should just believe it without questioning or examining it. That is what leads to a slippery slope of irrationality. Charwak says he's using Deepak Chopra and Sadhguru type arguments. Yep. I think if he is in Canada or somewhere, it is very likely that he has fallen for that shit. Alien says out of body experiences should be very straightforward to prove and nobody has done it so far. Yeah, there have been claims, but there has never been any actual evidence or proper tests done that come to the same conclusion as these claims. चारवाक says sorry senior से चारवाक बुद्धिस्ट आपको आज भी जनेऊधारी टुन्नी बोल रहे हैं, कृपया बुद्धिस्ट बन जाओ फिर रैशनैलिटी का सर्टिफिकेट मिल जाएगा. ये काहे का, ये वो साइंस जर्नी वाला आर्ग्यूमेंट है क्या यार? उन चैनलों की बात यहाँ पे मत करो, वहाँ पे करो. Arun says, and Vimo just wanted to talk about Star Wars. Yeah, please let us return to Star Wars. Mood kya hai says his dimension is stronger than Sadhguru's dimension. Sadhguru can learn some things from him. Alien says he said something about magic. $420 in the end. Hope he wasn't just trolling the entire time. No, he became a member, so I suppose. Um, Mohit says, please come back to Star Wars. I don't know if people do not like the prequel trilogy, but I like the character of Anakin Skywalker and the guy who played him. Hayden Christensen. Yes, I quite liked him. And what I liked even more about him is that after the movies came out, he realized that his acting was not that good and he quit. He said that he will come back one day after he gets better. And that is the kind of humility you don't often see. But yeah, I like the prequel movies very much. I don't know. Maybe this was because I did not have the experience of growing up with the old Star Wars movies, and I saw the old Star Wars movies after the prequel movies. Abhinav says, any thoughts on social democracy? Please do define it in your words. Abhinav, social democracy, you mean democratic socialism? Is that what you mean? Otherwise, what is social democracy? Alien says, "What is the stream title about?" Oh, the stream title was about Star Wars mythos and the dynamics of belief. I mentioned early in the live stream when I came on that Obi-Wan Kenobi lives in a universe where religion is verifiable. If you go to someone and say, "Prove that the Force exists," they can prove it. That is what I meant by that. And of course, even despite that, in that universe, there are people whose lack of belief disturbs Darth Vader, and that is something that has I've always found very amusing. Like, तुम्हारे सामने एक आदमी है जो अपने हाथ से स्पेसशिप्स को रोक सकता है, चीज़ों को उठा के गिरा सकता है, चीज़ों को मोड़ सकता है बिना टच किए, एंड यू आर लाइक, हाँ, ये फोर्स वोर्स कुछ नहीं होता. Like, atheism is stupid in the Star Wars universe. In this universe, not so much. But in the Star Wars universe, atheism is quite stupid. तुम्हारे सामने लोग फोर्स का यूज कर रहे हैं पचासों चीजें करने के लिए, और फिर भी तुमको फोर्स पे विश्वास नहीं है. And Obi-Wan Kenobi had a crisis of faith also, because it turns out that in the Star Wars universe, the amount of power you have through the force depends on the amount of faith you have in yourself. So Obi-Wan Kenobi for quite some time was weak. We saw in the last episode of the series that he regained his power because his faith in the force returned, and he was able to do a lot of things. He was able to throw Darth Vader across the Maidan and into a mountain. And that happened when he started believing in himself, or rather, perhaps, started believing that he had someone to protect. So that is what I meant by dynamics of belief. But I've been thrown completely off track by Leon Suk. Kaushal says, just remembered, yesterday you said you were going to show us some old work, comic book. Oh, yeah. Hold on. I have that thing here. Let me just. So, what happened is that a number of years ago, I was when I first became a comic book writer, I was employed by someone in Ghaziabad to write a comic book series based on some ideas that they had. And I wrote some issues. And then that company suddenly disappeared. Like, they shut down because the person who was running it had to go out. He was a young boy. He had to go out for higher studies. And now he has come back and he has relaunched the company. And one of the stories that I wrote back then, which was quite bad, by the way, the art is relatively compared to what Vivek Goyal makes these days, the art is bad. The story was also my first comic book script, and it is quite bad. But they're actually bringing it out now. The man got in touch with me. Himanshu got in touch with me and said if I want to write it. I said I'm no longer in a position to contribute that much time and energy to writing comic books because my living kind of depends on social media and YouTube now. But the comic is coming out, and the first issue I have author credit. So what I will do is I'll show you the cover of the thing. Hold on. Share screen window. Here, can you see it? Right. So this is, hold on, comment got out. This is Divya Kavach, and it is being brought out by a company called Radiant Comics. And this character on the left is I don't want to give away too much because it may get in the way of the promotion. But this story has a mythological roots. It's not a mythological retelling. It's got Garuda creatures, Nag creatures, Rakshasas, and gods. And I wrote the first, I think, 3 4 issues of it. I don't know if they're bringing it out issue wise or if they're bringing it out in one go. But this is the cover of it. If you go to Facebook and search for Radiant Comics, you'll find their page and you can maybe give them some support. But I think this, I wrote this so long ago that I don't even remember what I wrote in it. Let me try something else. Let me just do it like this so that, yeah. So this is what I was talking about yesterday. This is the comic that is coming out. It's called Divya Kavach. It is written by me. The art is by Vivek Goel, and the publisher is Radiant Comics. So if you want, you can check it out. That's all. There is. Let me. कहाँ गए भाई? Leon Suk says, "I will come prepared next time." LOL. Yeah, yeah, totally, man. Please do come back, and we can see where your arguments take you. Agastya says JJ screwed up prequels with his midi-chlorian count and whatnot. I don't know why people are missed. People are pissed at. I said piffed and missed, and then I got to pissed. I don't know why people are pissed at the midi-chlorian thing. I don't have any problem with it. Like maybe the problem is that like what happens in science fiction sometimes is that something is a mystery, and people want it to remain a mystery, and they don't want to have that mystery turned into something explainable. I have the same problem with Star Trek, by the way. The Borg are one of the most dangerous alien species in the Star Trek universe. And there is a mystery about where they came from. There are many theories, but no one knows for sure. Of late, in the newer Star Trek series, they keep trying to find the origin of the Borg. And I find it quite annoying because I don't want to know where the Borg came from. I want it to be a memory lost in the distant past about which I hear something here, hear something there, but there is no clarity. That is how I like it. When people try to pin everything down to I want to know where the Borg came from, I want to know where the universe came from, and every single detail about the story, which was slightly mysterious, now has to be clearly built out. And I don't know about you, but I call it toxic world building, where we are trying to find details about a fictional world to such a great degree of accuracy that it takes all the fun out of it. So maybe something like that happened to the Star Wars fans when they first saw the midi-chlorian thing. Maybe. I personally never had much of a problem with it, but I understand that kind of problem because I have had it with other properties. Agastya says, yeah, Jedi were idiotic in how they handled young Padawans. Idiotic in what way? They were training them. Like, I don't know what you mean by idiotic. Like, did you have any specific problems with the way they were taught? Somana says, I remember seeing a scene from Telugu movie. The hero stopped the moving train with his bare hands. Yeah. इंडिया में तो बहुत पुराना ट्रेडिशन है इसका. We have this hero template. Like in the West, there's this hero's journey template where the hero is weak, but the hero gets strong over time. In India, that is not the case. In India, the people want their heroes to be strong from beginning to end. Perfect. Morally perfect, physically perfect, musically perfect, uh, perfect fighter, man who can fight 100 people at the same time. And that is what we like. So even in the 90s, our idea of a hero was someone who was charming, who could woo the girl, who could sing very well, who could fight very well, who could do everything perfectly. It wasn't until our, the angry young man that the hero started becoming a little imperfect. But even after that, there were quite a few stories where the hero was imperfect. Mood Kya says, I have not seen Star Trek. You said yesterday you will do an episode on Better Call Saul on Friday, and please don't do any Leon Suk thing there. Otherwise, I will do Dimension unsubscribe. We will see when Leon comes back. Alien says, you are connected to the Force when you can lift rocks and stuff. Yeah. So it's demonstrable. Like in the Star Wars universe, I will not be having a conversation with Leon Suk. Leon Suk will say, I believe in the Force and I have seen it. And I'll be like, prove it. And he'll be like, see this rock? I can move it with my hands. And I'll be like, okay, that's evidence. Yeah. I believe you. In the Star Wars universe, this problem will not exist. Mohit Rajput says, I still can't get myself to watch the original trilogy movies in one go. I have watched them in bits and pieces because of old graphics work, but that does not stop me from watching Star Trek though. Yeah, so I think, yeah, this happens. This happens. Do you want to watch something with even worse special effects? Find a movie called Forbidden Planet, and a very old science fiction film, very old science fiction film. And also try to watch other black and white science fiction films from that era. The graphics are really bad, but the writing is not bad. By today's standards, it might seem dated, but I really like watching really old science fiction films. Anuja says, Hi Vimo, this is out of context perhaps, but could you throw some light on your creative process and how you're able to maintain consistency with content creation? Anuja, I wish I was that consistent. I don't think I'm consistent because my problem is that I make a video and ideally I should choose a schedule for my YouTube channel. I should be like, okay, हर Sunday 9 बजे एक video आएगा and I'll schedule it for that time. But I can't do it. My problem is that the moment I make a video, I want to upload it then. So if I make two videos in one day, I'll upload two videos on that day. And then for 2 weeks, I'll not upload anything because I have not made anything. I really suck at discipline. The reason I'm consistent with this live stream is that it is live. If I was creating videos and uploading them, I will not be this consistent. But because there is a schedule that I have written on the banner image of the channel, कि हर Monday से Friday रात के 10 बजे मैं live आऊँगा, there is pressure on me. So I think the best answer I can give you is that if you want to be consistent, create pressure on yourself. Make a promise to yourself and then keep it. That's the best I can do. Human is a social animal says, Hi, humanist people. Hello, human is a social animal. I'm guessing you're humanist. Arun says, I would not be atheist in the Star Wars universe, but I still hate the mystic tone with which the Jedi discuss the Force. I'm actually blown away by the fact that there are no people doing scientific research on the Force and that the Force is completely reliant on this order of monks or knights, apparently. Maybe there are people doing so, but we don't hear about them much in the Star Wars stories. Or maybe the possibility is that once really far away in the past, there were people who discovered the Force and they did scientific research on the Force and they came to the conclusion that the best way to connect with the Force is not through instruments but through your own mind. And then the tradition of using machines kind of faded away among at least these people because there is still plenty of machine things happening in the Star Wars universe. There are droids and spaceships and Death Stars and everything. So yeah, maybe. I haven't read the Star Wars novels, so maybe there is something about that there. Kaushal says JJ didn't do the midichlorian thing right. JJ is associated with sequels, not prequels. Prequels were entirely Lucas. Oh yeah, JJ did not do the prequels. JJ did the newer movies. George Lucas was the one who did the midichlorian thing. Mohit says, by the way, have you watched the Orville? Yes, I have. I watched today's episode also. Orville is one of my favorite things on TV or on video right now. It is. I've said this before, but I'll repeat it. It is true Star Trek. It is not canonically Star Trek, but it is closest to the spirit of Star Trek. Alien says there is a common idea about how the Jedi were actually wrong about preventing all attachments and they should strive to balance the light and dark instead. Yeah, so that was the premise of the main movie also, right? They are all seeking balance in the force. They thought that Anakin would be that boy. Anakin wasn't. They thought that Luke would be that boy, but I don't know if Luke is going to be that boy because we are kind of sort of there right now and there is no balance in the force. Agastya says, yeah, man, agree 100% about that world building thing. Yep. And Agastya then continues, like they never gave emotional support to their recruit. And when Anakin was having all kinds of anxieties, the Jedi's advice to him was deal with it on your own. You must. I'm paraphrasing. Yeah, so the problem with the Star Wars universe is that even though it does not fall for tech utopianism, even though it does not fall for the idea that technology can solve social problems, it also does not put much onus on systems. Like they talk about the Merchants Guild and how mercenary capitalism has brought many planets to their knees, but they don't actually treat that as the main problem. The main problem continues to be the human mind. Meditate, sab theek ho jayega. So that may be one of another criticism of Star Wars. Maybe I will write about it someday. Mohit says, I would suggest Science is Dope's channel to Leon Suk. He just needs to explore a great deal before he can even put a sensible argument. Yeah. So Leon Suk is quite deep in it. Maybe he will swim up. We'll see. Agastya says, this is why Anakin turns to Palpatine. He offers them what Jedi did not in his own perverse way. Anakin turned to Palpatine because he was manipulated into it. Palpatine was basically grooming Anakin. Grooming is a thing that happens with sexual offenders, but I think something similar happened to Anakin. Anakin was a victim of Palpatine. Alien says, but when you look at the power of Force sensitive brings to the responsibility to ensure its use for good, then the Jedi and Yoda are always right when they said to let go of attachments. Yeah, so I think what I said about the past of this Star Wars galaxy, there may have been a time when they uh, did not understand the Force completely. There may have been a time when they used instruments to understand it, and they may have come to the conclusion that instruments were not the way to do it. And then this Jedi Order started. We may be looking at the far future of the Star Wars universe. Attachment plus power will lead to corruption. Always, it does. Yoda said. Agastya said, but kids can't do it that easy. You are going to have to guide them. They do, right? There are scenes where they are teaching really young children to, free themselves from attachment. There are younglings in the Jedi temple. It's just that Anakin के ऊपर ये बहुत ज़्यादा काम नहीं किया because his passions were too strong. But it's not like they were not trying to do so. Priyansh says, "Have you watched TV animated series of Star Wars Rebels?" I have tried. I have tried. I've seen some. I haven't seen all of it. I got bored after a time, maybe because it was not live action, which feels very weird to say because there was a time in my life when I wanted everything to be animated. R says, Vimo, sometimes we talk with our friends in your live chat section, so please don't take those comments as a question because earlier you misunderstood my comment, which was not for you. Okay, cool. So when you do that, just address it to someone and I won't read it. But my point is that I'm so fixated on reading all the comments that I read all the comments. Kaushal says, plus the Jedi basically kidnapped Padawans from their families. Anakin was brought to train, his mom left behind as a slave. So they tried to sugarcoat it a little bit. They tried to show it that his mom let him go because she thought it would be better for him. But yeah, every kind of taking children and bringing them up in some kind of an order, I believe is a form of child abuse. Children belong with their parents if the parents are nice. If parents are not nice, they belong with a loving family somewhere else. राइट सो 1 घंटा 10 मिनट हो गया है अभी कमेंट करना बंद करो और इमोजी टाइप कर दो जितने कमेंट है मैं इनको पढ़ दूंगा देन वी विल एंड टुडेज एपिसोड Alien says, yeah, there was really good parallel scene of Vader with Ahsoka in Rebels. I have not seen Ahsoka. I think I have not gotten to that part, perhaps. Augusta says, no, I think the Force is supposed to be like the Tao in Taoism. That's why I kind of did not appreciate the midichlorian. It kind of forced some science into, yeah. So I understand the problem, and I have had this problem with other franchises, but not with Star Wars. Maybe. Kaushal says the point of the prequels is that Jedi had become too invested in survival of the Republic rather than what is morally good. Hmm, quite possibly true. Now that I think about it, yeah, they were becoming very obsessed with the politics of it. Mohit Rajput says, I came across Orville because of Seth MacFarlane. I would even watch Ted 2 again just because I'm his fan. Yeah, he's quite awesome. Arun says, I get the thing about mystery in fictional universes. I don't like the idea of the new LOTR show. I like the tales from the Silmarillion because they have gaps and mystery. So there are, again, two things here. I don't like an author creates a universe, but then other people start exploring its background and try putting things in it. That is what I don't like. But with LOTR, the background material and everything was written by Tolkien himself. The Silmarillion was written by Tolkien, and he was doing exactly this world building. Toxic or not, I cannot say because he's Tolkien. But think about all the fandoms today. Think about all the fan theory channels. I think a lot of it goes into toxic fandom, toxic world building territory. And that is what I have a slight problem with. Uh, Kshitej has a great question here. I wanted to get to it. Kshitej says, how come in Star Wars all planets have perfect 1G gravity? Exactly. By the way, do we even know how old Luke Skywalker is when the film begins? How come they all have 1G gravity and every planet goes around its sun at the same rate? So everyone's at the same age roughly. So Luke's planet is so remarkably Earth like that not only does it have 1G gravity, it also goes around its sun or suns at the same rate so that Luke is a teenager when the first movie begins. It's mind-blowingly coincidental. And also, I think Isaac Asimov pointed this out in an essay. When Star Wars movies came out, Isaac Asimov wrote in an editorial or a column somewhere that so the problem with Star Wars is that if you go into a bar, there are so many alien species and they are all breathing the same air. I would expect at least some to not be able to breathe, at least some to have some kind of a gas mask kind of thing. And people pointed out that yeah, there were some alien people in that bar who had some kind of a breathing thing happening. And then Asimov said, okay, I stand corrected, I'm sorry. But I guess back then he could not pause and rewind stuff, so he came to that conclusion. 99 percentile says, I got to know about Seth MacFarlane because of Family Guy. Okay. Right. So emojis have started, which means आज के live stream को खत्म करने का समय आ गया है. I'll just uh, I'll just remind everyone that I am an independent content creator and I do this live stream, this podcast. I make other videos on my other channels also. If you want to support any or all of it, you can do so by becoming a member of this channel. Click the join button below, or you can send a super chat, or you can go to my blog, which is vimo.stck.me, and you can make a one-time contribution. Mostly we talk about social issues, but on some days like this one, we also talk about chill stuff like Star Wars. And I also have a Patreon page. If you want to support me on a monthly or an annual basis, go to patreon.com/vimo. I also have some science fiction stories that I have written, which you can download and read at instamojo.com/vimo. And if you want to listen to this podcast's audio version, you can do so at www.vimo.in. That is the podcast official website. You can also find on that website links to all the audio apps where the podcast is available. And with that, I end today's episode. Hold on. So people are asking some other stuff about science fiction. अगले episode में बात करते हैं इस बारे में. मतलब the अगला episode will probably not be about science fiction, but if you want, you can ask about stuff and we'll get there. Until that day, until आज क्या है? आज है Thursday. Tomorrow is the last live stream of the week. Saturday और Sunday off रहेगा. So tomorrow we will also probably do some chill stuff. We'll see. And until tomorrow at 10 p.m., I bid you goodbye. Have a nice day. Bye bye.